very important to protect our freedoms, including the freedom of the press. It's the freedom of the press that helps undergird all of the other freedoms by exposing injustices, by keeping all of us honest, by telling the truth. And I just am really grateful to be here in the Philippines, where the press is free and vibrant, and to have the chance here in Puerto Princesa to talk to all of you. On the issues that you just raised, the Philippines is a critical country when it comes to biodiversity. It is one of the most biodiverse in the entire world. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. It's also one of the countries that is most prone to disasters, and also is really subject to the ravages of climate change with rising sea levels. So yes, absolutely, the United States continues to work through the program you just mentioned, but in many other programs as well. So I don't know if you are tracking that the U.S. Peace Corps has returned to the Philippines, not yet to Palawan, but we expect to have volunteers here soon. And one of the 3 priority areas for the Peace Corps is on coastal protections. I had the opportunity myself to plant mangroves out in Bataan. So that's one area that we're working closely on. As you mentioned, fish right, and you rightfully point out that when Vice President Harris was here, that was she went to a fisher village and spoke to women entrepreneurs, small business people who were processing fish and working with the fisher folk. And when she left this Puerto Princesa, one thing that she said, I will never forget this experience. That was one of her very first overseas trips as the vice president. So you can count on the United States to continue to work on a variety of environmental concerns, and also through various other projects that may not, and programs that may not seem initially focused on environment, but for example, we have the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs, many of whom are working in small and medium-sized businesses that are eco-friendly as well. We had a great meeting today with the Council on Sustainable Development, if I'm getting that correct, about their priorities, looking at wildlife trafficking and how we can help there. Looking at, for example, when you have Starlink connections that help with communications, when you are working on digitalization, all of these programs enable connectivity, which helps to combat various ills, whether it's destruction of the environment, or combating crime, or combating illegal or unreported fishing. So it's all interconnected, and we have a variety of programs. We are committed to this relationship, and especially to upholding the importance of biodiversity in this country, because it's essential for not only for the people of the Philippines, but for the globe. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Rachel Gananshaw from Philippine Information Agency. Ma'am, we've learned that you visited the Palawan State University and had a discussion with University President Dr. Ramon Docto. Palawan State University is one of the members of American Space, if I'm right, yes. American Spaces Philippines. So one of your projects is to establish an American corner to help the students be exposed in opportunities and learning resources. Is the U.S. government also planning to bring it, or expand it to far-flung areas, or make it more accessible to secondary level students, to expose them early to learning opportunities, which is also related with the U.S. government?
Well, what's so important, thank you for mentioning our American corner here in Puerto Princesa. And the Palawan State University has, as you know, multiple campuses throughout the province. And all of those campuses are able to access the research tools, the online research tools provided through the American Corner. So we are already everywhere that the university is throughout the province. Now, there's also, that relies, of course, on good connectivity. And that's another thing that I already mentioned we are working on together, is improving connectivity through our Beacon program through USAID. But for secondary students, for others outside the university system, I was really pleased to hear the university president talk about today the importance of connecting with the community. And even today, we had the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs meeting held in the American Corner at the university. So others do have access to those resources through collaboration with the university. I'm not familiar with actually programs specifically for secondary schools that are quite the same as the American Corner, but we do have a lot of education programs through USAID, the ABC program. We do a lot of upskilling as well with working with different private sector companies on what skill sets are required to make sure that you have the human capital needed to expand the economy. We've heard President Marcos say that when you talk about national security, you can't divorce that from economic security. So economic growth, expanding the economic pie, attracting investments here is really important as well. So it's not just what's in the education system up until now, but it's looking at what skills are needed for the future, and in some cases retraining those who may be very well educated in one field but need to be able to shift focus. So we have a lot of different programs, and we will continue to work with the Philippines in those areas. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Celeste Ana Formosa from Palawan News in the Daily Tribune. I'd like to ask about your opinion regarding the uneventual resupply mission last weekend. What do you think about it? And I heard that you also had a meeting with PCG and the Western Command. May I know what they updated you with?
Thank you.
regarding
Thank you for the
Western
question.
Sea?
I have to say that I'm going to mimic what you said with uneventful resupply. I have to make sure everybody knows it was a or the flawless resupply. So I want to make sure that for the record that the
Yes.
little bunny quotes are there. You know, for something truly to be uneventful or flawless, it would not need to be remarked upon as uneventful or flawless. The very fact that we're highlighting that, you know, since August 5th or early August, when we saw the first most recent of what became a series of water cannoning incidents and ramming incidents and use of acoustic sonars and such that to distract and discourage the Philippines from operating in the areas that it has the right to operate in. The fact that one event was relatively uneventful does not establish a pattern. We are certainly very pleased to see that the garrison on the Sierra Madre, the troops that are stationed there, receive the needed supplies that they require, the food and water and items that make their stay there more habitable. That's very important. And so, of course, we're pleased about that. And if this continues, that would be very important. But the rhetoric that we continue to hear in the press from the People's Republic of China, talking about how they allowed it, and I would put that also in those funny air quotes, they allowed it, that's not something that sounds uneventful. I mean, that kind of vocabulary doesn't sound flawless to me. So the important, in our meetings today with the Coast Guard and with others, also at Westcom, we're continuing to partner. We are ironclad allies in every sense of that word. The Philippines is our oldest treaty ally in this region. We are committed to our alliance. When we talk about the Mutual Defense Treaty, that M stands for mutual, it's not a threat to the PRC. We're not threatening anything. That's a promise. That's a commitment we made way back in 1951. You know, so this is an enduring commitment and something that we will be continuing to watch with our allies in the Philippine government, and everything that we do will be in coordination in the sense of mutual defense, because when the Philippines is strong, that's good news for the United States. It's good news for other like-minded partners as well. And we've seen over the course of the last 6 months in particular, a growing chorus of support from countries like, Japan, Australia, Canada, the Republic of Korea, India, many countries in Europe, the Scandinavian countries, adding their voice of concern to that of the Philippines for the unacceptable behavior that the PRC has been exhibiting. So it's great that the supplies were delivered, and we hope that this recent delivery proves to be a pattern. But I don't like hearing that the rhetoric in the press coming out of Beijing that somehow it was allowed, or that this was perhaps not as flawless as it might have appeared. Yes. Exactly. They also commented on the airdrop. They had allowed the airdrop.
Good afternoon, Ma'am Ambassador. Good research about Filipinas. My question is about the beacon program. Do you have any plan to expand to other places in Palawan? Because specifically we don't have that much connectivity.
Thank you for asking about the Beacon program. It is a program that is a 5-year program. We're in about the middle of it, about 2.5 years in. And much like the M and mutual defense, everything that we do with our USAID programs is done in coordination and in concert with our Philippine partners, in this case, DICT. Just yesterday, as you may have seen, we were thrilled and honored to present the Starlink equipment to the municipality of Calayan, and that was the 9th municipality to be connected. So in terms of which municipalities are next, our team, our Beacon team from USAID, will continue to work closely with the government of the Philippines to set those priorities. But there may be other avenues as well outside of Beacon. We also, through our defense coordination and cooperation, we have capabilities of sharing ability to be connected as well that are outside of the Beacon program. So that's not the only way to encourage connectivity. We have, through our Department of Commerce, we have programs that are encouraging digitalization, that will also bring about other investments from other areas to make sure that digitalization can only succeed if there's connectivity. So these things are pursued in concert. So very good question. And I wish if I had a magic wand, I would put one of those Starlinks in everything. Let me check and see if I brought it, so I can wave it and make it happen. But it's a really important point. Connectivity is essential. When when communities are not connected, that really stymies the ability for there to be economic growth as well. So it's essential.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, Ma'am Ambassador. My question is, aside from the Starlink you hand over yesterday to Palawan, is the United States of America other plans of providing projects or programs in the Pagkasakalan investment?
So I'll just repeat the question. I'm not sure if everyone heard whether the United States has plans to have other projects or activities in Pagasa or in Calayan municipality. Certainly that's something that we can look at. We want to make sure that everything that we do is in concert with our legal obligations in the United States, whether it's through our USAID programs, our military programs, we have State Department programs. But there are many things that the U.S. and Philippines can do together that will benefit the peoples of Calayan municipality and others throughout the country. So I would expect to see more projects and programs that will benefit the peoples of the municipality of Calayan.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Gerald from Palawan News and the Empire. During your visit earlier today to the Palawan Council for Sustainable Development, is there any particular or specific program that you discussed pertaining to sustainable development and how to strike a balance between conservation and development?
I think you're asking me to get out to find that magic wand that I forgot to bring. That is exactly the issue, isn't it? How do you walk that fine line of economic development that is so crucial for the lives and livelihoods and in human development. We don't develop, economic development is not for change, it's not for cash, it's to provide livelihoods for people, to provide for our children, to make sure that our future generations have a better life and more opportunities than we did or our forefathers and mothers did. So that is absolutely what every government wants to achieve. On the other hand, if you degrade the environment to such a point where it becomes uninhabitable, that doesn't work. So I was really impressed with the Council on Sustainable Development, everything that they're doing. They have a really hard job. And there's a lot that they're doing through legal mechanisms to make sure if you can regulate activities and make sure that the laws are just and fair and understood. So this gets back to issues of connectivity and digitalization. If processes are clear and transparent and people know that they're fairly applied, a lot of people then will understand the costs and benefits. Yes, I might have to pay more, but in the long run, my children will have a better life, and therefore I'm willing to pay that and know that others are paying their tax as well. So there's a lot that the council's doing and a lot that we're doing to work with them. But their mandate is very broad on issues of wildlife trafficking and water and sanitation. It's something. And of course, we're on the world's best island here, and you want to preserve that status, and that means making sure you've got clean water. We spoke to the mayor and his council this afternoon as well to look at the bay here and making sure that it is accessible and is an attraction for tourism. Tourism is one of the most, positive prospects for opportunities for sustainable development, but only if it's done right. You can't just, build the hotel rooms and open the doors and say, y'all come, as we say down in Arkansas. You have to have a plan. It has to be planned. And I was very impressed, both at the city council with what the mayor had to say today about what their development plans for Puerto Princesa, and also the council on sustainable development. The problem is you can have impressive plans. It's like, but you have to then have partners to invest in those plans, and the United States is here to partner in any way that we can.
Ambassador, I'm Joel from Palawander.com. My question is, you've been around the city and visited a lot of places, also in Palawan. Is there any new programs or project that you see that you need to, sort of endorse, that you discuss along with a lot of people here?
I'm not sure if I follow. I will say this. This is my fourth time to Palawan, twice to Puerto Princesa, although the first time was with the vice president. It's what we call sort of a surgical strike, in and out. I came in on her plane and out that very afternoon, but it was a great visit, and she was so impressed. And then this visit, and then twice to the beautiful beaches here, including bringing our daughters to El Nido just a few days before Christmas in 2023, just a month before last. So, but in terms of what was discussed behind doors with with everyone we met with here, was the same thing that we're discussing around this table. How do you achieve that economic growth that is while preserving the beauty of this amazing island? And to think that Palawan, and you all know this, but it was shocking to me to hear that the Palawan is the same distance as from Baguio down to Tacloban. And if you think about all of that area, and has the longest coastline of any province, and also what is so challenging about the Philippines that many other countries do not have, it's both a challenge and a blessing. You have more water in the territory of the Philippines than you have land. So the water is a source. It's something that instead of dividing, you can see it as a uniting force for how you define yourselves as Filipinos and this country. But that's unique. There are not many countries where you say that there's more water in our territory than there is land. So that presents challenges, and you all have expertise that many other countries don't have, and how you manage your coastlines So you've got a lot to teach others about as well. So when whether it's USAID or our public affairs programs through some of our exchanges like Fulbright or our IVLP program, the International Visitor Leadership Program, we bring people to the United States. Our Coast Guards, all of such a rich fabric of connections between Filipinos and Americans. But we learn from you all as well. I've seen the amazing mangroves here and how they protect marine life and also stabilize the seabed and counter erosion and problems with the soil there. It's fascinating, but the problems are significant, and we have to work together to find the solutions. I wish that behind closed doors, we had a magic solution, but what we've talked about around this table today was very much in line with the conversations that we had in our official meetings over the course of the last 2 days. I'm not sure if that answers your
Yeah.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Aryan from Palawan Times. Earlier, you visited the Puerto Princesa City Hall to meet Mayor Bayron and other officials. I maybe know what have you discussed, especially about future endeavors between the U.S. and Puerto Princesa?
Future what?
Endeavors.
Endeavors,
Partnership
okay.
endeavors.
Well, as I said, they gave us several different presentations. They talked about also the development of the city council. One of the programs that we have is called Change. I don't know, we have Allison here. Change is a program through USAID that focuses on good governance. And it was so impressive to hear what the city of Puerto Princesa has done again, with a little bit of help or seed money from USAID to get this program going. But that just starts the work. The hard work is done by the people and done by government, and government in connection with the people. And one thing that the vice governor said when she was giving her part of the presentation is that the real cornerstone of successful program is when people trust the government. And I thought that was really significant, when people trust the government. So having the transparency in processes that I talked about earlier, and predictability, and knowing that everybody is doing their fair share, paying their fair share, and that we can trust our governments, whether it's in the democracy in the United States or your democratic processes here. And that reminded me, it's something that I mentioned in our meeting this afternoon, it reminded me that that subject of trust is so important for our relationship between the United States and the Philippines as well, at virtually every level. And I was reminded when President Marcos had his historic trip to the United States in May of last year, that 4-day official working visit. I had the honor to participate in most of his meetings, and one of them was with the Secretary of Defense, Secretary Lloyd Austin, who said in the meeting, and it really struck me as interesting, just in the general discussion of our alliance and the importance, is continuing to work together, to exercise together, because that collaboration builds trust. Mm-hmm. And when you build trust, that's an essential component for success. So it was very similar to what I heard today. But what Secretary Austin said is, and the important thing about trust is, you cannot surge trust when you need it. I'm going to repeat that because it was impressive to me. You cannot surge trust when you need it. In other words, you can't summon the trust. You have to build it. You have to work on it every day through your relationships. And you all know this inherently. I see heads nodding, whether it's in your family relationships or your work connections or in your community. Establishing that trust, when you have that basis of trust, you can really accomplish great things. And so, I think it's hear the city council talk about good governance, I think, and building that trust so that the people, the citizenry, has trust in government. That's a great perspective, and that's exactly what our change program seeks to accomplish. I don't know, Allison, did you want to add anything more?
Sure. I think what we met with them today, what we're most proud of is how the city has been able to stand up the People's Council That is something that the Change Project is helping and working with cities to do. And they shared with us how they have managed to do that and how that has brought citizens closer to their elected leaders. And in Puerto Princesa, we learned that actually citizens are not only participating in meetings, they are actually voting members of some of those legislative committees. So they're actively engaged, and it's all in the spirit of getting citizens to be more engaged and involved in local governance and instilling that trust that Ambassador Carlson just spoke about.
So just so you guys know, the Change Program is a national program. It's not just in Puerto Princesa. And that stands for Cities for Enhanced Governance and Engagement. Sir?
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Romeo Luzares of Legal PR. Yesterday, you visited Western Command and also Philippine Coast Guard. May we know what you have discussed?
Well, we were looking at the whole array of issues on making sure that the United States and the Philippines are working together to ensure an Indo-Pacific region that is free, open, prosperous, and connected. I was recently at the Indo-PACOM, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command in Honolulu, Hawaii. There was a conference for all of the U.S. ambassadors assigned to countries in the Indo-PACOM region. And the subject of the Philippines, the country Philippines, came up over and over and over in a very positive context. So that's one of the things that I discussed in my meetings, is how I felt so honored that my fellow ambassadors from other countries and from our senior officials, both at Indo-PACOM and also our civilian officials who came out from Washington, were so impressed with the progress that the Philippines has made in defending its own territory and its national security, but also appreciative of the cooperation with the United States. So whether it's with the Coast Guard or Westcom, or in any of the many ways that we talked about, ensuring that our militaries and our Coast Guards are able to fly, sail, and operate anywhere international law allows is fundamental to us being able to preserve our national security, which connects back. National security and economic security are so closely connected. We spent a good bit of our time this afternoon talking about connectivity and programs for sustainable development. We use a hashtag in our Twitter account. A couple of you told me that you're friends with me on Twitter, and we hit the 50,000 mark. Just so no, thank you. It's not congratulations to me. It's thank you to all of you who are our Twitter followers. But our hashtag that we use all the time is Friends, Partners, Allies. So I am answering your question. It may sound, I guess, long-winded. But when we look at Friends, Partners, Allies, I think there's a misperception among some that maybe the font size isn't quite the same. It's like Friends, Partners, that economic development, and Allies is sort of in neon and flashing. And I think that's not really accurate, but it is because our military relationship is so vibrant and so important, and because the challenges that we face are potentially, the consequences could be quite severe. That's the part that looms large. But the reality is our people-to-people ties. There are 4 million Filipinos and Filipino Americans in the United States. When I was in Hawaii, 26% of Hawaiians trace their roots, Hawaiian citizens, to the Philippines. And we have amazing, the Peace Corps program here is longstanding. Our Fulbright program, our educational exchanges are the longest running. We have really strong people-to-people ties. We have close to 400,000, no one knows the exact number, of American citizens living in the Philippines. That is more than live in the Republic of Korea and Japan combined. Our other two big allies here, there are more Americans living in the Philippines than in those other two countries combined. The connections between our people are really strong. And on the partners, even though some people think that we need to do more, the reality is our business and trade and investment partnership, we are truly partners in prosperity. And we are bringing in next month, March 11th and 12th, our Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, is coming to the Philippines with a business delegation. It's a first of its kind presidential trade and investment mission coming here. We're bringing back the Millennium Challenge Corporation. It is a program, I'll let you research it online. It's a program that's grant assistance where our experts work with the Philippines to identify projects or programs that the Philippine government wants to focus on, and then makes the grant aid, and through good governance and meeting certain benchmarks, that money can be used for economic development in concert with what the Philippine government wants to do. That's another program. We're also co-hosting this year, and this was another outcome of President Marcos's trip to Washington last year, one of the deliverables from that visit. The Indo-Pacific Business Forum, IPBF, is coming up. We're hoping to nail down the date in May. We're hoping very soon to have the exact date to announce. But that's another area. That's a regional conference that U.S. will co-host. It's one of our signature programs. So you'll have business executives coming in from all over the region to look at the Philippines and what we can do together. We also have the longest running U.S. Chamber of Commerce in the world. The 120 years, I think. It's certainly over 100 years, 120, I believe. Paris, France claims that theirs is longer, but I'm assured by our AmCham here in the Philippines that in fact the Philippines is longest. So we have very strong trade and investment ties as well. And the military connections, getting back to what you talked about, they are so strong. And we talked about the 1951 mutual MTD, Mutual Defense Treaty, the longest running defense relationship or treaty ally we have in this region. And even in the periods where we had the most difficulties, the most challenging times, bilateral times that we've endured, our militaries are working together 24/7, 365 days a year, through continual planning. As soon as one exercise ends, they're already starting the next iteration of that very same exercise. Because, as Secretary Austin said, you can't surge trust when you need it. You have to build those relationships of trust, not just in the military, but as steadfast friends and partners in prosperity, and as ironclad allies. Those relationships of trust are essential, and that's why I love my job. I love this job. I see diplomacy as building relationships of trust to further our mutual interests in line with our common values. And to be here in Puerto Princesa, to have the opportunity to meet all of you, to have many engagements, building those relationships of trust, connecting with each other. It's just been, it's a joy to be here, and I want to thank you all for coming out. I know we're hitting up close to our time, so Kanish, go ahead.
Oh, thank you guys again. Thank you for coming. It's great to meet all of you, or some of you I've met before. And please do send us links to your stories. All right. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.